Hi, I'm Sam and welcome back to my art journey. I've really been enjoying learning to sculpt and film everything as I go. Each piece teaches me something new. This time I'm making a tawny owl, one of my favourite woodland creatures. I wanted to capture that calm, watchful expression they have, like a little guardian of the forest. Let me know in the comments what your favourite woodland animal is. I'm always looking for inspiration for the next sculpture. I started with a really simple structure, just a toilet roll and some aluminium foil for the base and shape. It helps save clay and gives the sculpture a bit of strength. If you're trying air dry clay yourself, don't be afraid to use recycled materials like this. They make sculpting a lot easier. Once the base was ready, I covered it with clay and started shaping a little tree stump for the owl to sit on. I think these natural bases really help set the scene for each piece. Once the basic shape of the tree stump is done, I take a bit of time to smooth out the surface and refine the details. This helps it look more like real wood and gives the paint something nice to bring out later. After smoothing the surface of the tree stump, I started adding small pieces of clay to form the roots wrapping around the base. It gives the sculpture a more natural, grounded look and adds a lot of character before painting. Once the roots are in place, I start adding texture to the bark using my sculpting tools. I make small grooves and lines to mimic the look of real wood. This part really brings the tree stump to life. I also like using a stiff paintbrush to add finer lines and texture to the base. With the base ready, I start covering the foil armature with clay to form the owl's body. I focus on getting the main shapes right first, before moving on to the finer details. Once the owl is attached to the base, using a bit of slip, I start roughing out the face, just marking where the eyes and beak will go. Later on, I actually remove the owl from the base to make detailing easier, then reattach it once the sculpting is done. With the basic shape in place, I start refining the face, adding more definition around the eyes and beak. This is where the owl really starts to take on its character. I also sculpt the dome-shaped eyes that I'll later bring to life with paint. I spend quite a bit of time refining the eye shape here, making sure both sides are even and rounded, since the eyes are such a key feature for capturing that alert, watchful look owls have. Small adjustments make a huge difference, so I take it slow at this stage. Now I'm adding more clay around the eyes to build up the feathered texture. Tawny owls have this beautiful soft facial disc that frames their eyes, so I'm layering small amounts of clay and blending them carefully to create that natural fluffy look. For the fine details around the eyes, I'm trying out a new tool, a tattoo needle. It's my first time using it, but it's perfect for adding those tiny feather lines and subtle textures without overworking the clay. I'm simply adding a piece of clay for the top part of the wings, just blocking out the shape for now with no detailing. Next, I add a piece of clay to form the tail, keeping the shape rough for now. Once the basic wings and tail are in place, I begin detailing using different tattoo needles, a liner for the fine lines, and a magnum to create texture for the feathers. I work carefully on both the top and underneath of the tail to give it depth and realism. Now I add clay to form the bottom part of the wings, roughly shaping them to match the top. Once in place, I start detailing. First carving the individual feathers to define their shape, then adding texture and fine lines to each feather for a realistic look. Next, I add clay to build up the neck, giving it a natural thickness. I then add feathers to the head, using the same method as on the wings, carving the basic shapes first, then detailing each feather for texture and realism. As I continue, I keep adding small amounts of clay and building up layers, shaping and detailing the body little by little. This stage takes time. I layer feathers, refine contours, and gradually bring the owl to life. Tawny owls, like this one, have remarkably soft feathers that allow them to fly almost silently. Their mottled brown and grey plumage helps them blend perfectly into tree bark, which is exactly the look I'm aiming for with this texture. Every tiny feather I carve adds to that realistic, watchful presence. Now I carefully reattach the owl to the tree stump, making sure it sits securely and naturally. Then I add the toes, shaping them so the owl looks like it's gripping to the bark. These little details really help bring the sculpture to life. Apologies for the footage not being super clear. I'm still learning how to film and edit. It gets a lot better when I move on to the painting part, so stick around for that. Since I started making these sculptures, I've noticed something wonderful. Not only do I dream about the animals, but I also see or hear them in real life more often. It's a really special experience, and honestly, this process has become truly therapeutic for me. Next, I start adding small details to the tree stump and base. I sculpt and attach tiny mushrooms, placing them naturally along the bark. I also add moss, little stones, and grass to the base, building up texture and interest. These elements help bring the scene to life and give the owl a natural woodland setting. At this point, the sculpture is fully sculpted and ready for paint. All the details are in place: the owl, the wings, the tail, and the base. And now it's time to start adding colour and finishing touches. I start the painting process with a dark brown wash all over the sculpture. This helps to accentuate the textures and details, giving depth to the feathers and the base. After the dark wash has dried, I start adding lighter touches of white to the feathers. This helps highlight the raised textures and define the individual feathers. Once the whites are in place, I layer in browns to build up the natural tones and patterns of the tawny owl. Now I paint the base colour of the eyes in a reddish brown, keeping it simple for now before adding any highlights or details. Once the base colours are in place, I start layering more colours on the feathers. I gradually add different shades of browns and creams to build depth and variation, carefully following the natural patterns of the tawny owl. Next, I apply a dark grey-blue wash over the entire owl. This helps unify the colours and adds shadow, enhancing the texture and depth of the feathers. Now I move on to painting the base. I use browns, greens and greys, applying the colours in a loose, messy way to keep it looking natural. There's no need for perfection here. The goal is a realistic, earthy feel that complements the owl. I add darker browns to the eyes to give them depth. Then I create the pupils using a dot tool, followed by a lighter ring around the pupils to make them stand out. Finally, I add tiny white dots as highlights. The owl ends up looking a bit dorky, but I think that just gives him extra character. And that's it. The sculpture is complete. I love how all the details came together, from the wings and tail to the textured base. If you enjoyed watching, don't forget to like and subscribe for more clay wildlife creations. You can also leave a comment to let me know which part of the sculpture was your favourite. Thanks for watching.